So I think you started by saying Bandra is the queen of the suburbs. So I completely agree.
With my clients, they don't want to leave Bandra. So people living in Bandra want to buy homes in Bandra only.
We have a Bandra fort. There's a beautiful Devi ka mandir at the people don't know at the end of the fort.
And then you have the Mannats.
The Mannat.
We should discuss why is Bandra the home for celebrities. Welcome to another episode of Zapkey Openhouse. With Zapkey Openhouse, our objective is to go beyond data and marry it with on-ground market intelligence. And given that real estate is hyperlocal, we believe good and experienced brokers working in those markets get you the best insights. This episode is an initiative to get those insights to you. Today, we'll be covering the market of Bandra. Bandra is also called the queen of suburbs, and it has a vibe which makes it stand out as a locality in Mumbai and actually across India. It is also home to some of the biggest Bollywood celebrities. So let's start. Today, we have three guests who have a cumulative experience of more than 50 years working in this micro market. Let's discuss this market with our guests today. We have with us Krithica Sajdev, Sanjay Sippy, and Ajai Kapoor. Let's have a brief introduction from all of them. Let's start with you, Krithica.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep, firstly for inviting us on this podcast. I'm grateful to you, grateful to Zapkey for this opportunity. So yes, I've been in this industry now for more than 16 years. And I started as a recruitment consultant way back in 2006. That's where I got into the role model of being a woman entrepreneur. And I started with recruitments. I was providing manpower to corporates. I was providing manpower to the BPOs at that point of time. But then there was something in me that whenever I sat in front of my desktop or with my teams working on databases and providing manpower, I said there's something more that I want to do with all this that I have. So real estate happened to me by sheer chance. I was one day sitting with one of the corporate guys, and they happened to mention the importance of providing homes on leasing, and they were looking for vendors. In other words, brokers. So I took it up as a joke, literally. I said, I have the data with me, and I already have the connects with corporates. So what does it take to do the business? What does it take to be a broker? How does the module of the business run? So I did my research for 6 months. And it so happened that somebody in my building where I stay, and they were newcomers, they had come down from Delhi, they were looking to buy a house in Mumbai. And Hota hai na, when you introduce yourselves, so I told them that I have recently started my business into real estate. And very happily, the gentleman told me, can you help me find a home? I have seen more than 100 houses,
Wow.
Krthica, and I'm not able to close my purchase. So I said, okay, sure, let me try what best I can do. And that day I was very excited because I had everything, the material with me, and I had to get started. I had a buyer in front of me, and I had to find him a home. And every time when it comes to properties, there's a certain excitement that I feel. It's as if, very thrilling for me to hunt for a home. Maybe being a woman, being a homemaker at a point of time, I understand the meaning about having the right home for yourself and your family. So I did one SMS campaign, but I was, I received a lot from the market, from varied brokers across. Now I was totally lost. So many buildings, so many locations, and I knew nothing. So I said, no, let me keep my focus very clear. And I zeroed in on only one property. And the next day I fixed up the appointment and I told this gentleman, I'll show you only one property. I'm sure this should fit your requirement. And we went to the building. He saw the apartment. And even when we went through the apartment, see, when you're selling a home as a broker, you've got to be picturesque, you've got to be realistic, and you've got to make the customer visualize how he's going to have his life spent in this home. And it just came to me naturally. It came to me so naturally that at the end of the appointment, he was convinced that he's going to buy this home. So the deal happened.
And that was your first deal.
That was my first transaction. And in the subsequent 2 or 3 months, I closed 3 more transactions like this. So it was like I had found my calling. It was as if the powers of creation were shouting out to me, hello, you're not meant for recruitment, you're not meant for databases, you are meant for real estates. And I was pretty excited, and that's how I got into this business. So, I mean, whenever anybody asks me to introduce myself, the first thing that comes to me is that as a realtor, real estate is the best thing that happened to me in my life.
Wonderful. And we'll also explore as we go forward.
Absolutely.
The industry also is, I think, more male dominated, and how you've navigated and built your career for you over the last couple of decades. We'd love to discuss that. Let's move on to Ajay. Ajay, would love to hear how you started and got into this industry.
So mine is also a fairly unique story actually. I did my education in engineering, and after that I did my MBA, and I used to work for a tech company. I used to sell websites. In those days, the .com boom was happening, and every company, every small, medium, large company, everybody wanted to have a website. So I used to sell websites, I used to sell web-based apps in those days. Did that for about 4.5, 5 years. Then the .com burst happened. And the company that I used to work for had offices across US, Middle East, London, India, etc. And because of the burst which happened, they were retrenching a lot of people. And I got into a fear mode. Oh God, mera bhi lagta hai, time aa gaya hai. And that's when a friend of mine approached me. He said, why don't you get into real estate? I've been doing it for the last couple of years and it's doing good. And I said, okay, let me try it on. Honestly, I was a bit hesitant initially, but he pushed me into it. Tried it for 3 months, 3 months became 6 months, 6 months became 9 months, and in a year's time I said, okay, this is not too bad, this is good, I'm liking it. And that's what brought me into this real estate industry. So that's a little earlier background. Initially I started with residential, moved to a bit of retail. In those days, retail malls were starting in Orbit, was starting in Mumbai. Started working on that with respect to the leasing. And did fairly well, and then over a period of time started picking up more things, and now as a company we have multiple things that we focus on.
You guys do all type of assets, all type of transactions, or there's a larger mix of, say, residential as such?
Yeah, so just to give you a quick introduction, my company is by the name of 360 Degrees. The company is about 20 years old. I'm 22 years in this business. And we focus across residential as well as commercial. From a geographical perspective, we do focus on Bandra, Khar, Santa Cruz as one location, BKC as the next, and Lower Parel, Worli, Prabhadevi as the third. So these are 3 locations which now from another perspective have kind of got combined, and everybody, a Bandra customer is also looking at Worli and
correct. In your area of expansion is largely driven by where your customers are.
Yes, and
trying to ask you for options, right? And understood.
And the customer is the same broadly for most of these locations. So there's a lot of cross buying happening.
Understood.
A BKC guy wanting to now move to Lower Parel or Worli or vice versa. So we cater to these areas as our primary focus location. We have recently started second homes. We're focusing a lot on Alibag. We have a strong belief that that location will change the way luxury homes are being looked at. And that's something which
understood. And that's like another full episode to discuss luxury homes and second homes, right, as a space. But good to hear your introduction. Would love to see your insights over the next
Thank you.
hour or discussion that we'll have.
Yes,
Sanjay, coming to you, would love to understand how you got into real estate, and go ahead.
Yeah, man. Well, my journey started at a very young age, at the age of 16 or 17.
Wow.
I was 33 years into business now. When I was in college, it started off as broking. One of the first transactions was I sold an apartment to a police officer who married to a criminal lawyer. So it was a very deadly combo.
At age 17?
At age 17, and I told them put a token to an apartment, and they said we don't have the rest of the money, we just have another apartment. I said don't worry, I'll sell it for you. So it was like all out in the first transaction, dealing with. But it was successful. I managed to do that, and I have then grew up to doing a little bit of soul selling mandates. In the year 2000, I managed to do one mall as a soul selling mandate, and then moved on to a little bit of redevelopment. In fact, I can say that one of the first redevelopment ever happened in our area was managed by me.
Very
it was
nice.
Almost 25 years ago. And moved on to, and I've myself also got into a little bit of redevelopment. I've made one or two buildings in Bandra Reclamation. Also done some second home projects in Lonavala. And right now also focusing in importing some ready-made capsule luxury homes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, somebody who's got land and doesn't have the time and to get any permissions. And so we could provide that. So that's one thing which is
it's a fully built out unit just to be put.
Designed in Europe. So that's what we are just working
Understood.
on right
Very
now.
nice. Interesting.
So it's been a beautiful journey.
But you will be a role model for a lot of youngsters who are in college to start out.
Yeah. It was the life turned out in that manner. You have to take responsibilities at an early age, but it's been fun.
Understood.
It's superb. The first transaction I could manage to get my kinetic Honda. It was like as if I bought an aeroplane.
Wow.
So that memory is fantastic. So it's good. It's been a beautiful journey.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So it was good hearing all of your introductions. I'm sure you already know each other given that you work in the same micro market, and you'll have a lot of deals where you would have worked together or against each other, servicing the same customers. But moving on to our next section, which is trying to understand the current state of the market, wherein we would love to know your insights about how the market is today. Also give context of how it was earlier, so that the user or the viewer who is seeing this episode gets to understand how the market is changing, what are the dynamics. And as I said, it is an informal discussion. There is no Q&A. We all can chip in wherever we have inputs. So let's start. Ajay, you can maybe start off. What's your current view on the market and how you're seeing it? And as I said, anyone can chip in as he starts off.
So I think you started by saying Bandra is the queen of the suburbs. So I completely agree. And for us, for our company, Bandra is our favorite location. We work across various locations, but Bandra is Bandra. Having said that, and being in this industry for the last now 22 years approximately, and being in this market for that kind of time, Bandra has seen some sort of cyclical changes, which if you can put it that way. When we started off, Bandra was going through a boom of TDR buildings which were coming up, and then a bit of new buildings which were coming up, which then went through a phase of little stagnation, which then went into. So we've seen various kind of phases, but the last 3 to 4 years or 4 to 5 years have been very good for Bandra, and specifically so because the 7 years before that were very slow. There weren't any new developments coming up, and we were like, there's not so much
no activity as such.
But last 4 years, 5 years, there's been a lot of work which has been there for us. Great new buildings which are coming up. The norms got changed. Developers looked at Bandra in a very different manner. We had different categories of products to sell from the small, medium, large perspective. New buildings which are coming up are higher in terms of the height, so we're getting greater and better views, broadly speaking. It's been a great time. Bandra is also seeing a new category which was never there actually, which is commercial buildings. So there are a lot of commercial buildings with boutique offices which are coming up in Bandra. And
this commercial buildings are targeting largely local smaller businesses there, or for corporates. Not boutique offices would mean smaller setups, right?
Yeah, so a very unique thing I'll just share with you. These commercial buildings, which got started about 3 years back or so, and are now more or less getting completed. Prior to that, almost 10, 15 years, almost 15 years, there was just one commercial building which was developed in Bandra, which was on Linking Road or off Linking Road. Nothing else was there. So anybody who wanted to run a business or set up a business or run his operations or have a small office close to his home had nothing except old residential buildings converted to commercial offices, and so on. Very few ginchunke, 8-10 buildings were there which were pure commercial buildings, but not so anymore. Right now we have a lot of choice which is there, and the biggest gentry or the biggest customer that we see are people who are staying in that entire area of Bandra, Khar, Santa Cruz, who want to have a bespoke office, a small office closer to their home. Now, various categories of customers. One category is somebody who's staying there and just wants an office to work out of there, maybe just Saturday, Sunday, because his main office is somewhere else. There could be a hub and spoke model, so a company which has its main office, let's say Goregaon, Powai, wherever, but the CEO wants to have something close by. There are family offices, which is typically HNI category people who want something close by to manage their own personal affairs and finance. There are jewelers who are taking, because there are jewelers who do very customized and very personalized business. They don't want to have a retail store. They want to work out of a private environment. I work out of one such kind of a building. It's called Supreme Headquarters. It's in Bandra. And trust me, the neighbors I have in the building are 25 different varieties of
businesses.
On my floor itself, there is a venture capital company. There is a import-export company. There's a hair and skin doctor.
Interesting.
There is an eye hospital in my building. So you can't even imagine, the weirdest of businesses are wanting to have
space
an
there.
office here. So that's a new model which
new trend that you've seen for the last few years,
and it's doing very well, and I think it will continue because COVID changed the way people look at where they want to work from. And
but touching on your point, right, that you've said that for a 7-year period before the last 4 or 5 years, there wasn't much supply, and now there's a huge increase in supply. And there I would like Sanjay to come in terms of, you've mentioned that you've looked at redevelopment as a space. I think Bandra is going through one of the biggest transformations as such, right? And we would love to hear your thoughts on how you are seeing this trend.
Yeah. So let me tell you how the journey has begun. Initially, Bandra, the developers used to not build as per the norms. It was built as how much you can manage to build. It was that kind of so there were certain areas which were allowed as far as your flower bed, your decks, your niches, and your car parking areas, and your area on your agreement and your area as per the apartment which is sold to you differ to almost 50 to 60%. So 3,000 square feet apartment is sold to you and your document area is 1,500. Bang came RERA and the BMC commissioner, they changed the rules and they came a new thing called fungible. The fungible area is that now anything you build is counted into your extra areas. All you're allowed is how much is your lift. Suppose the lift is a 6-foot lift. So you're allowed only 6-foot free area in front of the lift and the passage is in front of it. Everything else is counted into FSI. And once after RERA has come on board, so a builder cannot take that money and park somewhere else. So a lot of security came as far as in the eyes of the buyers on those sense. And now, recently after the DP 2034, your FSI is as per your road width. So what has happened right now, the minimum area is 2.7, goes to 2.97, goes to 3.24, goes to 4.05 and also goes to 6.7 FSI. So that is
6 and 7 FSI.
Fungible, 5 plus fungible. So that is what
that would be the highest, I think, across.
That's the highest.
City.
Highest goes to MHADA. Okay. In Bandra Reclamation,
12.
MHADA can go to 10 to 12 FSI today, as you and me speak right now. So there is 1,800 square meter plot, which is doing 2 lakh square feet. So what has happened right now, BMC post the COVID changed the entire thought process of a buyer. They said, "पैसा लेके करूँगा क्या? मैं जी नहीं पा रहा हूँ, सांस नहीं ले पा रहा हूँ. There's no space in the house. There's no space in the room. I need more room space. I need more balcony space. I need terraces."
Correct.
Suddenly there was, I don't want to park my money in gold. I don't want my money into shares. I want a good living space. So there was a boom in the market.
Yes. People
started buying. Developers went berserk. BMC gave sort of an amnesty to developers as far as your open space deficiency and your premiums are concerned. So what they used to pay 100 rupees, BMC said pay 10 rupees. Provided or pay 20 rupees. There were certain conditions in it. So what developer did, suppose he has 3 plots. He said, forget, I'll forgo my 2, I'll focus on 1. Pay the premiums and develop. So there came a stability in the market. People with money started developing. All right, and started finishing. So people started buying. But now what has happened right now, there is so much of construction which has happened right now. A buyer has got confused.
Too many options now.
Too many options have gone up. And post a coastal road connectivity. Today, if I am living in Bandra, all right, after 2 years, I can live in Malad, Marve.
Understood.
I will see you and come to Wally Sea Link in the next 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, so great point, Sanjay. On that connectivity front, it is clearly coming out that the competition set for Bandra is increasing from locations perspective and more options for the consumer. So Krithica, good time for you to come in and tell us how you are seeing this whole market and the trends that you see.
What I sincerely feel is that Bandra as a location carries not just a place of heritage, but also there's so much more in Bandra. The experience that I have with my clients, they don't want to leave Bandra. So people living in Bandra want to buy homes in Bandra only.
This is the thing, right? That
the thing, yeah.
But why? But it is.
So I'll tell you, because Bandra carries that energy. So we have the Carter Road Promenade, we have the Bandstand Promenade, we have such amazing builders developing such luxury and uber luxury products here that my clients that I'm dealing with, they are fascinated and they don't want to leave or go beyond the micro market of Bandra. Well, as Sanjay bhai rightly said that yes, because of the coastal roads and so much happening on the infrastructure, there is scope that today if somebody wants a sea view, they could look at other locations. But having said that, being specific on the location of Bandra, somebody being a resident of a Pali Hill will want to buy a product on Pali Hill itself. Somebody living on a 15th Road Bandra, if he's looking at buying a property in Bandra, he would look at the vicinity, but not go beyond. I think that is where the demand for homes is there even today. Of course, there's a lot of redevelopment that's happening and it's happening big time. I would say Bandra is in a mode of revamping itself and all the old buildings are getting...
Would that not disturb the vibe of the whole and the charm of the...
But despite that, the prices in Bandra have not, taken a back seat. Today, the prices are huge.
What is the difference between this 42 or 2 lakh square feet per square feet? What kind of products are getting made for 40 and what kind of products?
40 and 45, I'm saying 50,000 rupees all in. There are certain projects which are launched right now in Bandra Reclamation. Today, there are properties available there because 10 FSI, 12 FSI and Bandra Reclamation is being developed. 25 acres is bought by Adani right now.
Correct.
He's doing luxury homes and he's doing a hotel there and he's doing retail there, he's doing commercial there. That's going to change the Bandra all by itself.
Correct. That itself will because...
That itself is a new thing altogether.
Because from what we understood, right, that in Bandra as such, right, there are no large plots to develop.
There
right?
Communities. So there is a dearth of gated communities and the feeling of community, and there is a huge demand for it. And that becomes sometimes a deal breaker for a customer who wants to stay in Bandra but is not able to get a feeling of a community with amenities and so on and so forth. And Reclamation is the place, Bandra Reclamation. I think it's changing in a very, very big way. There are developers right from Adani, which Sanjay just spoke about. There is Rustamji who's doing something. There is Hiranandani, which is coming up with something. There is Godrej who's doing a residential property. There is Elements, which is a local Bandra-based developer.
These are large gated. They'll be gated projects.
In fact, Guru Kripa is coming up in Reclamation.
There's so many of them right now. They're combining two.
So this Reclamation will give Bandra
a lot of supply.
An option so one is what Krithica said, right? The charm, the heritage, those kind of buyers, and then there are a lot of buyers, right? We come across, right? We also track real estate, so there is a lot of demand for, as Ajay also said, right? Township-driven,
Yes.
community-driven projects, right? Where you have amenities, you have large communities. And in fact, right, in some of the discussions that we've had in the past, right, that, for example, in Lower Parel, Worli, right, Lodha came up with Lodha Park, which is 2,000 apartments. It just changed the entire landscape or the ecosystem of the area, right?
But
And
the same Lodha and Worli is doing a 10,000 square feet apartment at almost close to 1.5 to 2 lakh.
Good
2 lakh
point.
rupees
So
a square foot.
different
Look at
product.
the difference.
Different
Same
product.
location,
Different product.
hardly a kilometer away, he is doing 200 crore approximately. Same thing in Bandra. In Bandra, you have a developer called Sadhguru, a developer called Supreme, a developer called Rustamji. All these three, four good guys that are doing locations in the super premium location in Pali, on Cart Road, on Bandstand.
So what we are discussing right now is, if I have to summarize, that there is a Bandra Reclamation which will offer community experience, maybe at a 50,000 rupees per square feet type price, and then you have the luxury
Rest of Bandra.
or individual buildings with uber luxury characteristics at a much higher.
So in
There
fact,
is one more
even-
segment on the bylanes, 14, 15, 16, 17th Road, Kharjim Khana, all Bandra Khar is basically one brother sister kind of a thing. All these societies are 800 square yard plot, 1,000 square yard plot. Now these plots cannot get more than 2.97 FSI because the road width is accordingly. That has by itself a different market altogether. That ranges between 60, 65, 70,000 rupees on carpet, depending on the thing. And in all these buyers are the internal buyers. Most of them, you'll have 50-60%.
So you're saying most of them are internal buyers.
Internal
But now, again, coming, because there is a lot of supply, as we discussed in the reclamation part.
I want to stop you there.
Yeah.
Bandra Reclamation is the old word. Bandra Seaface is the new word.
Developers are absolutely amazing at
So just like
rebranding their name, right?
Rebranding.
Like a Wadala becomes a new Cuff Parade. This is now Bandra Seaface.
Seaface is going to be the new word. This Bandra Reclamation, once all of these new gated communities and tall towers come in over there, it's going to be renamed because there's a lot of infrastructure development also happening along that. There's a land parcel picked up which was taken by L&T, and part of it is now given to Oberoi. And what we hear, I don't have a full confirmation on that, but I think Oberoi is planning to do a hotel there. So there's going to be a hotel, there's retail, there's an Adani hotel separately, and that entire area along with the coastal road area, which is going to be, landscaped, like part of it is already done. So that, the entire face, everything is going to change over there.
it's going to be a new address altogether.
It's going to be a new address altogether.
But do you guys think that because we see transactions, right? As Sanjay also said, there's a 100 crore transaction. But now what we are seeing, right? Even in some of these large transactions in other locations like Lower Parel, Worli, Prabhadevi, all of those markets, that there are now, even in the large ticket segment, there are now 100 crore transactions happening because a family takes 2-3 floors.
Yeah.
Instead of staying in, say, separate individual building, right? People can afford buildings also, right? They're trying to take up apartments, right? Because of the community experience and all of that.
The perfect example is JVPD. JVPD by itself, the entire culture was bungalows, all right? And now certain bungalows developed because of the FSI boom. So the rest of today if you see 50% of JVPD is under construction.
So all bungalows becoming buildings.
Yeah, 2-3 story buildings, bungalows getting into kind of. The rest of the people are feeling too much of claustrophobia. You say, where am I living? Everybody's looking down to my house.
Yeah.
I might as well go to a building with a higher floor, with a duplex, with one floor level, 5,000, 10,000
Correct.
square
It's
feet.
very common there.
And shift out over there. So that is the culture what's happening. That's the entire mind shift. And luxury guy, a luxury home person, a person shifts in his house 3 times. A person shifts his residence 3 times in his life. One, when he's too young, your parents do it for you. You don't know what's happening. You have no choice altogether. Second time, you do it because you have children, you have to move out, you have to respect that thing. And third time you do it, it's the last time, and you do it for your children. You know, this is my end, right?
Very good. Very well said,
3
right?
times.
But I'll also add here, today it's happening that buildings are going into redevelopment. So the family or the concerned is forced to, move into another house. Because redevelopment has taken up the whole of Bandra by like a storm.
like a storm.
City.
There's so much
Entire
happening.
city.
But as I said, right, that would put a lot of pressure on pricing as well because of the options, as you just said, right? That there's so many options now that buyer is confused, right? In the discussion we discussed that buyer is confused. How are you seeing as practitioners on the ground? How are you giving the clarity? What is your
Actually, when redevelopment happens, usually 50% of the building goes back to the original people. We see a trend where 10 to 15% of space is bought by the original
existing.
people.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
So
So,
eventually, the developer is selling only about 30% of the new building which he gets. These buildings which are coming up in Bandra Khar, because the plot sizes are not too large, so effectively the new building which is coming up is a 20-story building, in which the number of apartments that they get to sell are 5 to 7 apartments at
so I said 30% is only the sales risk.
sales. Yeah.
Otherwise,
Now,
it's mostly
for a
taken care
developer
of.
to get 5 to 7 people, let's say 10 people, let's say 15 people in a span of 3 years is not very difficult. Most of
Good
them
perspective.
sell out before the building gets ready, which is the best situation a developer can be in. Just imagine
And
I'm making
so
a building.
clearly that is the reason of the explosion in
So I just
redevelopment.
add to this also, Rendezvous by Sadhguru got sold out during the phase of construction
Exactly.
only. There was no
Most of them,
stock
yeah.
left.
Yes,
I think
also
right
got
now
sold
they're
out.
just
Most of
left
them.
with one apartment.
I'm sure. So
One of them they
in-
deliberately hold
Yeah.
on because they want to sell something after
They
the
held
occupation
it on.
certificate
Yeah,
comes.
yeah, absolutely.
So they deliberately hold on. They don't want to sell it. They'll quote some obnoxious kind of a price just to ensure that I have something to.
So what happens, usually there's a corpus a developer gives to the old member. So a person who aspires to buy larger space, now he's getting out of 3 bedroom, he's getting a 4th room, right? He wants one more room extra, he wants to buy half an apartment extra, so club in over there. The corpus gets adjusted over there.
Understood.
The rent which is payable for the entire tenure, that gets adjusted. So his initial contribution and the balance he managed to either remove from his business and he has to pay a little bit of a loan and he pays. So Ajay said 10 to 15%. I am saying almost 25 to 30% of the inventory which the developer holds today, the actual members are buying it back. He's left with another 60-70%. The developer himself in his entire circuit, everybody's got a friend circuit, and who trusts him very much.
And given this, I think in this specific market, right, the developers as such, right, are not the scale developers that you see, right? There are different set of developers, right, who dominate in this market
So
as such. If we
Bandra
can
has
discuss.
a huge foray of developers, and there are so many. In fact, there's Supreme, there's Mayfair, there's everybody. There's Sadhguru, and there's Rustomji now. In fact, the huge land parcel that they've taken on Ambedkar Road, Pali Hill, Crescent. We're all excited about that project coming up, and of course they have 2 more projects on Pali Hill, which is.
So a lot to look forward to in this market as
So
such.
we have
right?
people from other locations trying to buy houses in Bandra. So the demand is going to go up.
Yeah, but Sandeep, you're correct. I must say that, there is a vast difference between the two ends, right, in both the new projects. One is as low as 45,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees a square foot, and second is between 1.5 to 2 lakh square feet. So the bridge has to come up. In between, we have to find a balance in between. And right now, market is such, there is, you have so much of supply overall, the connectivity, the choice bit for a buyer to say, okay, I might as well go 10 minutes ahead and get a better layout. That factor. Second factor is the share market now, which has in a way crashed to a bit, and your Trump policy. So the NRI thought process is different, because his business are being affected. Somebody who's doing there are a lot of people who do business in China, and today with the 125-130% tariff, so it's crazy.
Crazy,
So
the
it's
uncertainty is
gonna
crazy.
balance it out. So see, as far as the prices are concerned, today in Bandra, there's a Pali Hill, where there are a couple of projects, like there's a project called Prana by Supreme, which is a top-end project which has only 1 unit left, the 10th floor. And he has a penthouse left. That unit is almost at 135, 140 kind of a thing, and the penthouse is 150, 160 kind of a pricing kind of a thing. There is a Sadhguru Kismat, which is bang on Cart Road, which is actually going to be the entry point. There he is at 140, 150 kind of a thing. 2 projects behind, there is a project by KL, which is at 110, 15, 110 kind of a thing, because there is 2-3 plots behind over there. So you can understand that the entire market is such that today then there's a building called Varun by Lotus Anand Pandit. He does amazing buildings.
bang on the sea.
He's like bang on the sea. He's one of the kings of Juhu. And he's bringing out, he's coming, he's also at the similar prices, 150, 160 kind of a thing, higher floors.
So in most of these, the end which is at 1 lakh plus is largely very limited, making it hard to get in, limited supply.
Catering.
Right?
That's for a different segment altogether.
Different segment
It's
altogether,
an
right?
ultra HNI.
The volume segment will be this 45 to 50k, which are the
I would
kind
say
of projects
even
that you
going
think.
up to 65, 70,000 per square feet. Yeah.
Which are these projects, if we can
Now,
discuss some
deal
of
and
the.
signature, for example, he's there on Bandra Reclamation. His building is 30 floors is up right now. And his front flats are at 85,000 rupees a square foot today. Whereas his side flats are 65,000 rupees a square foot.
Yeah.
So that you understand, that's a declamation. And next door building is launching at 55,000 rupees, right?
Go
It's
ahead.
also the stage of construction. So whenever it's a pre-launch, the rate would be at 50, 55, as you rightly mentioned. And then DLH is almost going to be giving possessions by December 25. So the rate is different, like
There's a premium to
65,000.
that,
Yeah.
yes.
And the possession is round the corner. So that's how it is. And even so, having said that, the other locations are commanding a premium. When we say premium, yes, there are these projects, as Sanjay ji rightly mentioned, but there are also other projects which are, in the range of, say, up to 70,000 per square feet, like projects from S. Raheja Realty. There are projects from, of course, not too many options are left right now because they're all due for possessions by June 25. There are projects there are so many ready to move in projects. There are penthouses ready. And there's so much stock already built in, which we can show to the clients who are looking at end using the projects and using the apartment themselves. Because predominantly today there are no investors. It's all the high-end, the people who want to live in the end-use
So
market.
just to touch on that topic, what kind of profiles of customers are coming to Bandra, right? Yes, there is a luxury thing, but generally what are the type of, because why I'm asking this is because it is close to BKC, right? Do you see a lot of CXO levels or working professionals coming in there? Both, and let's not only think of buying as a segment, let's also discuss a few renting aspect as well, because that market also we should give a flavor of how that is operating.
So, as a company, we do Bandra Khar Santa Cruz, we also do BKC and Lower Parel, Worli, Prabhadevi. We see that the customers for all these three locations are fairly similar. It's a blend of CXO, which is corporate customers, and owners of small and medium businesses, so the MD category and the CXO category. Having said that, BKC attracts more of the CXO. BKC is very, very professional in terms of the gentry which is staying over there. Bandra is comparatively, I would say, let's say about 60-40 in terms of 60% being business and 40% being corporates. Lower Parel is, I would say, probably 50-50 or 60-40, 60% being business. So that's the blend in terms of CXO versus MD category or owners of businesses, broadly speaking. For many of them, these three areas have converged and become one big,
location,
large location.
So I have an interesting question here. Now, when a customer comes in, what are the reasons for which they would not choose a Bandra and go to, say, a Lower Parel, Worli, or BKC or Bandra East?
One big parameter is gated complex versus standalone building. Those who are okay with a standalone building are okay will prefer a Bandra. Those who necessarily need a gated complex with amenities, a bigger community, will look at BKC or Lower Parel. So this is one, big factor which divides these two. Then the others are views, the others are, type of apartment, how many density of the building. Density has become a very, very important criteria and parameter in the last few years, and which decides the pricing of a particular product. And also it's become, customers will come to us saying that I don't want a big density, very high density. Small and medium chalega, large density nahi chahiye.
Understood.
So earlier, till 3 years, 5 years back, nobody used to speak. We knew as real estate consultants that this project has higher density, but customers were not so aware. But now that many gated complexes have got ready, and there are some which didn't get designed in the right manner, that amenities can be used in the right with a proper balance. Now those people and customers are now getting aware of these things basically.
One more factor right now though is the traffic. in Bandra. It has increased to a different level, and BMC looks like digging for gold.
Correct.
They've
It's
dug
all
the
dug over the entire
zone. It's like what is happening, and the roads have become messed up. And for a new member, and you come out the ceiling, and then you get on into Bandra Reclamation, and from there to reach to Carter, it takes you sometimes 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
You can't
We
be
all
on
know
time.
it's
You can't be on
temporary,
time.
It's temporary.
But, it's temporary. We all know.
Hopefully.
It's temporary, and hopefully in the next 2-3 months itself, we'll see some,
a lot of
because there's a lot of sewage related work which is happening. So many roads have got dug up over the last few months. And there was a time when we had to pass, let's say South Mumbai towards Andheri. So we used to say, go via the lanes of Bandra, you'll be faster. Now it's the other way.
Now it's the other way.
Go in the lanes, you can't cross.
You will not get out. You will be stuck there.
You'll not be able to reach anywhere if you take the lanes. You have to take the
That's a new
main
change
road.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's temporary.
But Bandra has its buzz. It has beautiful coffee shops. Now the entire those.
That I think are the ones that
It's
tilt
amazing.
the.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But does that also mean a lot of again, this is my observation, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of younger audiences, right, fresh to jobs, they would want to be there
The
first.
Bandra Bazaar roads, the back end roads, the Chium village. Now all those cottages have been
It's
converted
becoming
into
like a mini Kala Goda.
converted. The old heritage homes are converted to coffee shops, into bars, into wineries. And the beauty of it, you don't need to take your car because anyways you can't enter it. So you walk it down over there. The walking culture is Bandra. Walking and the cycling culture should come back. And I think it started because of these coffee shops in these inner lanes.
Yeah.
So Bandra, the
Interesting.
charm of Bandra was this. Choti galiyan,
Correct.
greenery,
Boutiques, cafes, restaurants.
little churches over here, little temples over there, little pathways. So that beauty of Bandra is always going to be there. The vibe, you can party. There's everything.
Correct, absolutely.
I've been a party animal in my life.
From the age of
So there's no other Carter Road and Bandstand kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
in the city.
That I think is
Marine
the.
Drive does not give you that kind of a vibe,
Yeah.
What a Carter Road and a Bandstand gives you.
You're
We have
right,
a fort
absolutely
in
right.
We have a Bandra fort. There's a beautiful Devi ka mandir at the people don't know at the end of the fort. The culture,
And then you have the Mannats.
the manna.
Yeah,
You have
celebrity.
We should discuss why is Bandra the home for celebrities. What
It's just been that way, I guess. I mean, most of them are here.
it's been-
any transactions that you've been part of or seen,
I've been recently part of certain transaction of certain celebrities, which obviously I not permitted to take the names, but yeah, so they look at super high-end luxury. They want privacy as a matter of fact.
Okay, let me ask this another question. Why do celebrities stay on rent? They pay 1 crore of rent.
I have
So
one line answer. Every celebrity wants to live life king size beyond what they can afford at that period of time. They have to show something to the world. They have to live a certain life so that the world gets to see that. And at that point of time, they may not be in a position.
So
to be able to
if you
afford.
can't afford a 50 crore home, but you can afford a 1 crore rent, so let's
Why
leave
not?
that,
I
right?
mean, yeah.
Also, the celebrity life is like that. Once you get into that mode and you've seen some success, there are a lot of them who move up very fast. So for them to buy something and then get stuck there, they feel, no, let me wait another 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then I'll buy what I really need to use. So that's also a mentality which I've seen in that category.
So just another interesting trend that we've seen across markets where redevelopments have happened is right that when you move that to societies are getting redeveloped, they have to move out on rent. And Bandra is like one area where this is happening at madness level,
Yes,
right? So what are you seeing around rental activity in this whole market?
So all the rentals have shot up tremendously. I mean, an apartment, let's say a 3-bed, which was going at a 2.5 lakh rent, today commands almost close to 5 lakhs or maybe more.
If you can just also highlight which projects and which are those projects and
So
how-
many of them. The recent transaction that we had was, I wouldn't take the building's name because obviously.
It's available on Zapkey anyway, so you can.
Oh.
So you can take names, right? And because that data point will be there in Zapkey.
Did a transaction where the rental this was recently Paramount recently that we did, and it was a 4-bed apartment that we had put on rent earlier at 2.5 lakhs. That was during the COVID times, and today we have put the same apartment at almost 525. So the rents have really gone up over there.
Any other experiences
So Sanjay and I were part of a transaction in a building called as Pinnacle Gold. In that building, we been representing the owner. Two apartments have been available. We rented out one apartment about a year back at what, 5.5 lakhs.
5.5, 525.
And in the span of a year, when the second apartment became available, we rented it at 7.25 or something. Same apartment, same size, just a different floor, same owner, similar decor, couple of lakhs higher in a span of less than a year.
Less than a year.
So that's to give you.
But do you guys feel that as redevelopment activity, I think it's still continuing, but as more of these supply gets built out and the owners move back to their own homes, this will at some point.
Many owners don't move back. They want to keep it on rent. They want to continue on wherever they are, and they want to rent out their new buildings. So I'm part of a redevelopment building. It's called Corner View. I stay at Bandra, and many of the older owners who moved out during the 3 years, they said we don't want to get back. Some started staying with the children. Some moved to a different city. They kept it on rent. Still on rent. 6-7 years ho gaye, but still on rent. So that's a trend which we see at a it's.
So either more supply will come up for rent in these new buildings.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Or some of the owners will move back.
Yeah.
But again, Sandeep, you must see the variation between the value of the property and the rent a property gets. As an investor, me coming as a developer and an investor, back mind, today a 10 crore property does not get more than 2.5 lakh rupees rent. That 10 crore rupees you rather put in your bank and it gets around 8 lakh rupees a rent. So the variation between the rentability and the value of the asset, it's too high. It's
too high.
If the market is on an upward trend, it makes sense. So आज 10 crore कल 12 crore हो गया. But market is a downward trend. 10 crore का चीज 8 crore हो गया, and you're losing money on your own self. So that's a different.
That's why I think
different thing you can get on a different talk show.
But I think that is why I think if you see in real estate, mostly as we progressing, right, you're seeing less of investors and more of end users.
Yes.
Because an investor mindset will never be able to mathematically put this equation, right? Ki 2.5% yield, interest rate at this level, FD rates are here, interest rates are here, rental rates are here. And if capital appreciation is not significant, then you're actually worse off with a property investment, right? Therefore, more end use is getting driven.
But on a longer perspective, see, why is it called real estate? Because it is the real asset.
Correct.
You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. Everything else is an entry in your computer.
And far more, given that share markets, we can see the volatility. Most people say real estate, at least you don't know until you are transacting.
In the old school thought of Hindu Vedas, what they said, घर अपना खुद का, दुकान अपना खुद का, बाकी सब बाहर का. So these two things, you have your own asset. So that is one thing. So and Indian economy is a saving culture, unlike the other American economy. Our gold to our currency is much higher than in compared to many of the different countries over here.
So on that note, Sanjay, I think we can now move to our next section, right, where we will discuss. Right, we've discussed the entire market, right? We've touched upon a whole host of topics which I think our viewers would get great insights from. But this new section is about your unique experiences with customers. It could be good, bad, and ugly. The idea is to give out these experiences so that other people who are going through maybe similar experiences connect and understand that these are manageable and can go through. So let's start. Just whoever wants to go first.
So I can give you one good and I'll give you one not so good. I don't want to say.
Go ahead.
So we'll start off with the first redevelopment project. Because I had something which has really. So there was this landowner, all right, and I was way back 25, 26, 27, 26 years ago. So I never knew what it is all about. And he wanted to develop his plot. And at that time, Mr. G.L. Raheja, right? I knew him, and very well at that time. So he told me, get me a plot for redevelopment, Sanjay. Get this thing for me. So I got this landowner. All right, he was a Christian family, but very insecure. The developer reputation, somebody gonna take away my land, kind of a thing. So I went to G.L. Raheja. I told him in Sindhi. Dada, ta hunna ke chayo ta contractor aayo.
Acha.
Say what? I said, tell him that you're his contractor. I said, I'm not a contractor, I'm a developer. I said, tell him that. How does that matter? So don't tell him you're doing joint venture. He said, I'm gonna be a. So how is it? I said, tell him that you're going to develop it for him. All right. And because you're gonna go out, I'm gonna give you some money so that you can take care of your rent. All right. And in lieu of providing you a house back with extra return, I'm gonna take some area back from you. So that is what and that worked. That guy was immediately signed when he told him that that he's a GL, right? Has become my contractor. So that was a building called Felicia House, which we had
So
done.
you are able to pitch this entire redevelopment concept in a very
Simple
to understand way without saying redevelopment and all that, right?
So that was a
Interesting.
beautiful journey at that
Interesting.
time. And coming back to so there was one other transaction. This was almost, I think, pre-COVID. This was. I met this client with a very strong reference. He told me I prefer to this. And usually when such a strong reference comes and the surname, the name, and it's from a very powerful family in India. I don't want to take names.
Yeah,
Very
it's no
powerful.
problem.
Came, stayed in a 5-star hotel, all right, with huge entourage of right hand, left hand. And I confirmed it. It's from that family. We have very big plans. Sanjay, we want to buy a building in so-and-so location for a head office. Our budget for the building is around 120 crores. I want to buy a couple of penthouses, one for myself, one for my family. And then I want to park so-and-so funds. And I'm doing an international project and with super international names. And I was, okay, not bad. Sab kuch chodo. Focus itni karo.
Correct.
And then devoted myself completely to that client. Shortlisted, घूम रहे थे, good supercars, पीछे गाड़ी भी आ रही है, supercars, उनके right left, kind of a thing. And we shortlisted the building in Juhu. All right, shortlisted 2 grand penthouses. Each penthouse of that time around 120, 130 crores kind of a thing in South Bombay. And done. He's saying, चलो done करते हैं अभी सौदा करते हैं price negotiate संजय भाई आप बोलो उधर करते हैं ऐसे done चलो अभी now the thing is that transfer the token transfer
Correct.
the money
That is the deal, huh?
बस सर 2 दिन में आ जाए sir okay we'll wait and I know the owner of the company I don't talk to this I said transaction I said he's saying संजय भाई आप बोल रहे हो we'll wait okay no problem 2 दिन हो गया नहीं हो गया another 2 days didn't happen. I said, he said, no, my funds are coming from there. I'm here rotating from there. I said, sir, we don't understand where your funds are coming from. I am understanding when is it going to come. To make it a little short, later on we realized this guy was schizophrenic.
Oh God.
And he had to make all these khayali pulavs.
My God.
That stuff. And we came to know from his family member only. He's saying, aisa hai. They used to come wherever he used to pay the hotel bills. And kind of a thing. So
My God, this is like super unique.
So this is
Great to hear. This is
Amazing, yeah.
this actually is like we may never hear such a story probably, but good to hear.
It was
So
from a good family. It was from a thing.
no, understood.
Making it
All the creds were there. That
there, but the thing.
Ajay,
Unique transactions. I had a unique transaction. So, when COVID got opened up, this whole redevelopment phase got started and, so many new launches coming in and everything. So we thought, we need to do some, promotions that people who are wanting to buy here in Bandra Khar, they should come to us. So we tried a very old method of, marketing. We've been doing digital and stuff. We made newspaper leaflets. On one side of the leaflet was a hero project, one project which is getting focused. On the other side were 5-7 different projects with just basic details, and we distributed it across Bandra Khar. From the leaflets we got some 8-10 inquiries. One gentleman called us for the hero project saying, I got this leaflet and you are marketing this project. I see it close to my house. When can I come to see it? Said, sir, you tell us. Okay, I'm coming tomorrow. He comes the next day. He sees it. He likes it. He says, I'm coming again with my wife. Comes another day, sees it, closes the transaction. Okay. Now, the leaflet had multiple projects. So, as a real estate consultant, we always ask, sir, कुछ और देखोगे क्या? Because we have that fear, किसी और के साथ जा रहे नहीं जा रहे, जब तक close नहीं हुआ. तो यहाँ से सब कुछ और नहीं, मुझे यही चाहिए. He came, so Same guy sees one project, finalizes that same thing, and moves on, and did not see anything ever before or after. Because I asked him, sir, had you seen
That's,
the market before? And no, I just saw your leaflet. I called you, I came, I saw, I finalized. It's not
Like, again, a unique. Yeah, in
Yeah.
most experiences, everyone wants to see multiple
wants to
options,
see.
right?
Even
And sometimes after seeing too many options, confused and decision never taken, right? It gets delayed generally, right? But one project
So in
and
3
deal
days it
done.
was done. I mean, 3 days, what, 2 days or something it was done. Because the guy didn't want, he was very clear, no, this is close to my house, I don't like to go to any other place. It's an under construction building. The building is Cassius, for those who know the building. Just one single guy.
Yeah, very few
Very
customers
smooth,
would
very
come
quick.
up who can decide, very clear about the requirements as such.
So that
So-
was very unique for us. And normally with newspaper inserts, you don't get very, very focused kind of inquiries. You may have to, build upon them. You may have to nurture those inquiries. You may have to check what else are they looking at and stuff like that. But this was nice and smooth. So that's one which comes to my mind right now.
But after that, any more successes with newspaper inserts or?
No, so successes have been there, to be
Okay,
honest, and
great.
we do them once in a while.
Uh,
And
But it's also interesting to
every
know.
success has some amount of effort which goes towards the success.
Understood. But given that the way everything is moving digital, it is good to see that the traditional newspaper inserts
Yeah, we wanted
also
to blend
periodically.
that. Yeah, we wanted to blend that because see, we've been in this Bandra car market for the last 20 years. There's a lot of brand recognition of our company 360 degrees. A lot of people already know us. And we felt that 4 years, 5 years back, this market is going to see a change of so many new things which are coming up. And customers or people who want to buy a home, they will get into a little confused state. Arey yaar, ye bhi aa raha hai, wo bhi aa raha hai. Because as a customer, when you drive down, you see so many buildings getting constructed. Now, when you're driving down, you don't know यहाँ पे 3 bedroom आ रहा है कि 4 bedroom आ रहा है, यहाँ पे 2000 square feet आ रहा है कि 1000 आ रहा है. You need to call somebody to give some sort of a comparison. That comparison and that value is what we bring to the table.
Understood,
My job
absolutely.
is only one. जिसके पास 10 करोड़ है, 20 करोड़ है, 100 करोड़ है, मेरा एक ही काम है, उसका टाइम बचाना. क्योंकि 10 करोड़ में भी 200 ऑप्शन है, 20 करोड़ में भी 200 ऑप्शन है, and 50 करोड़ में भी 200 ऑप्शन है. Now, if you expect that guy to see 50 options and then he won't be able to make a
Correct,
decision.
correct,
He'll
absolutely.
get confused. My job is to help him make the decision. My job is to help him filter down, understand his requirement, and give him what he wants.
Great, great. Krithica, now would love
Sure.
to understand a story from you.
Yeah, so the story that comes to my mind can also add a lot of information to, the fraternity as a whole. This was one transaction that I did with Kanakia Paris, at Kanakia Paris in BKC. And this gentleman was a family member, a family friend rather. And he bought an apartment. We did the booking, sitting in the builder's office. And the builder's sales teams were there. So it was a direct interaction with me being there as the channel partner. And the deal happened. So the token was exchanged. And then the customer care team of Kanakia kept following it up with my client for, the further payments after the token. And my client was traveling. So for some reason, payments were not coming up. And when I kept following it up with my client, that the teams are following it up with me. You've given a token check. At that time, this happened in 2016. That time, RERA was not there. So the builders are obviously, and those times the amount used to get forfeited, the token money. And this gentleman was not reachable. He was traveling, so I was interacting with him on emails. And when the money did not come through, I received a stern mail that the amount is getting forfeited. For which the client called me. Samne se. And he said, Krithica, what are you doing? You're my channel partner. And the amount of 9 lakhs is getting forfeited. So I said, sir, I've been trying to follow it up with you, but there has been no response. And obviously a rule is a rule. And they also need payments on the given timelines. So he was so agitated that he cancelled the deal. Now, I thought, okay, the deal has got cancelled and I may not, get anything out of this. And since he was a family friend, we were following it up, that what's happening on that front. Is he really going to cancel the apartment and let go of the 9 lakhs, which obviously is a huge money,
Correct,
and I didn't
huge.
want him to go through that. But at Kanakya Paris only, he rebooked another apartment with that token money. So that amount did not get forfeited, thankfully. But the sales teams had changed of Kanakya. So I was not having any communication. And I came to know from within the family that, okay, this guy has finally bought it at Kanakya Paris itself. So I went back to the new sales teams and I interacted with them via mails, etc. And that's where I learned that whenever you're dealing with builders, at least, all your communications must be recorded via mails. Right from the time you give a site visit through the process till the end, till you receive your brokerages. And then finally, Kanakya paid us our brokerages as well, and the matter was duly honored. So this was a great learning that I had.
That in new bookings you have to.
And thanks to
We-
RERA now, of course, there is a clause that if a deal does, if a client has to back out from a deal, then there's a certain time frame for which he has to confirm to the builder that he's going to cancel the apartment, and then the money is refunded
Correct.
back.
There isn't
There is a
full,
provision, yeah.
full amount cannot be forfeited as such if
Yes.
in a particular time period you've decided to forgo the deal.
So
right?
thankfully with RERA, this thing is taken care of.
Understood. Great. So
Can I just tell you about another one? Just came to
yeah.
my
Please,
mind,
please
right?
go ahead. Yeah, go.
So I had done some sales. This was not in Mumbai. It was in Pune. It was in a project called as Lola Belmondo. An MD of a company bought an apartment there. It was for a second home. After he bought it, he said, Ajay, our chairman stays in Powai. I said, yes, why not? I went to Powai the next morning to meet up with the gentleman. We were to meet at a cafe. I waited. He came in 5-10 minutes. He came with a checkbook. He said, "Batao kitna amount likhna hai?" So I was like, "Sir, Mr. Shirish has given me a reference. First, let me." नहीं उन्होंने ले लिया तो मैं भी ले रहा हूँ. So I said, I refuse to sell you anything without
Zabardast FOMO
knowing
hai.
what you're buying. He said, "What's your problem? I'm giving you the check. He's bought it, I bought it." So I asked him, "Sir, what has he bought?" He said, "He's bought an apartment." I said, "What's the size?" He said, "No, I don't know." So what's the full cost? He said, "That you'll tell me now." So I told him, "Sir, I have to sit with you 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I have to explain it to you, and then you can give me the check." I sat down with him. We had a coffee. I explained him the project. I said, "Now you give me the check." He said, "Thanks, that was a very good session. Now I know what I want."
I have a short, amazing one. I just
Yeah,
remember
please,
right now. I
please.
think you all should know about this. So I had this client come from Africa, right? A guy like a big shot of Africa, wanting to buy a house in South Bombay, and very, very, very arrogant and full of ego. Understand? And he said, okay. And I told him, he said, I want so and so location, chapter close. He doesn't want to go beyond. And luckily I had an apartment, a developer's apartment in that particular building. In that location, that particular building. He's saying, we'll do. He said, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Okay, I'm coming over there. If it is fine, I'm carrying my checkbook. I said, very good. Done. And the apartment that time around 42 crores. That was the 40 to 45 crore kind of a transaction. I called the builder's person. I said, hello, I'm coming with the client tomorrow. Make sure your senior or whomsoever is there on that, and that inspection, we'll do it. Came, we saw the apartment. It was like a bare shell apartment kind of a thing. He said, how much? And that guy was so much of ego that even he doesn't want to negotiate.
Correct.
People at that level, I don't want to negotiate. I can afford it, that kind of a thing. So I think the figure came up. He's saying, sir, our final figure was 42.5. He said, okay, done. Sanjay, Leo Abhi, we'll give a check of around 5 crore, 10 crore banao. And when will they give me? When will they do a document? I can go, I was supposed to go tomorrow. I'll delay it for 2-3 days. Took the possession. That guy started shivering. The developer's guy. He's saying, he took me in the corner. He's saying, Sanjay bhai, aapko malum hai na ye? I said, what? Aapko bataya nahi? I said, nahi bataya. I said, ye floor ka usi nahi hai. This is a refuge floor. I'm going to convert it, fill in that thing, and we'll take at least 7 to 8 months.
ये अब बता इसको.
फिर मेरे को बता, तू बता उसको. मैं बोलूं, तू बता उसको. He went and he had to tell him.
Correct, of course.
He जो MCBC निकला उसके मुंह से, including, and I lost that client.
Yeah, of course, because this most critical piece of information before getting the client.
You're
No?
not telling us. That guy didn't tell me, and that's so I can never forget that.
Very good point. Good that you brought up that story. So good to hear all these stories, and I hope that it helps viewers, the fraternity, to learn from these unique experiences. Moving on to our next section again, which is I think very important for our viewers, is that you guys are operating in these markets. You getting your top 5 picks in the markets that you operate, right? And adding a little bit of pros and cons for each, so that this knowledge is also absorbed by our viewers. So, Krithica, you want to go first?
So my prime focus is on sales in Bandra, and the top 5 picks, if you ask me, I like the projects on Pali Hill, and I have, for the last 6 months, I'm trying to focus on generating clients for these particular projects. The projects, the first project that I would rate as one of my favorite is by the Usher Group, The Legend on Pali Hill. I love the views of the project, and of course, these are all ultra
And this
luxury.
project has a background, right? It's a redevelopment of
Dilip Kumar's
Dilip
house.
Kumar's
house.
Yes. So that's the one.
That's why it's called the legend.
The legend.
That's why it's called The Legend. It's a very, very unique building. And of course, these are the tickets which will not happen overnight. It's going to take its course of time. Sanjay has been very lucky with, his stories that he's shared. I wish I can get luckier. So yes, that's the top on my list. Then I have the one by Sadhguru on Carter Road. That's Kismat. Again, a very beautiful project. I've gone through the layouts, and it's the way the elevation is going to shape up. I'm sure it's going to be a landmark project on Carter Road. Then coming to, of course, I can't focus only on the ultra luxury segment. Then I have projects of, by the S. Raheja Realty. And they are coming up with very good 3 beds and 4 beds, and their projects are due shortly for possessions. So those are again on my to-dos. And one of my favorite project is the Panorama on Santa Cruz, the BP Road. That's a very fine-tuned project. And then there are also 2 more projects which are on main Turner roads. Again, excellent locations. And yes, there are also a couple of penthouses, which are ready to move with terraces, decks, etc. One by the Mayfair on the Live, the 17th Road project is again my favorite on that stretch of road. But having said that, there's so much more that the markets are offering, and there are so many new projects also, and there are different builders, sets of builders, like the Webtech Realty coming up with their project called Shiv Heights, I think, on 18th Road, has some very glamorous 2 beds with sea views also. So these are the stocks that, I have been working on, and there's a huge foray of properties that we can offer to varied requirements. But yes, this is what it is for now.
Good to hear your picks.
Yeah.
Sanjay, why don't you share your top picks? It could be old, new, anything.
So I'm really looking forward for Rustamji's new project on Bandstand. Not revealed as yet. I believe they're going to be around 10,000 square feet floor plate, kind of a unique home, bang on the sea. So that is something which is going to be for the top class. I like the Sadhguru Kismat, as she said. I like Usher's, but Rustamji has got 1 or 2 other projects. The Panorama on Pali Hill, Parishram, which is ready right now with OC. There were beautiful penthouse available there. There were beautiful 4 beds available there. Rustamji is coming up with the Crescent. I think Crescent is very aspiring for the people who can't afford Pali Hill, but they're closest to Pali Hill, and it has a layout. And Rustamji is famous in doing community living kind of a thing. So I think he'll do a good job there. Also, what is happening right now? A lot of clusters are planning up. I'm also part of certain. We're planning to do a little cluster redevelopment where you need to have combined 2, 3, 4 societies. And if you cross the 6,000 meters, and then you're eligible for cluster, and then your FSI increases. So there are certain locations which I'm part of at the
But that
ground
will be
stage right now.
even more challenging, no, right? Because even in one society to get consensus is
But what happens
sometimes
is-
tough.
I agree. But suppose the one society is getting 2.7 FSI or 2.97 FSI, but you come with cluster with me, I give you 5 FSI.
Correct.
तो
So
उसको और कोई
the-
30% दे रहा है, मैं बोलता हूँ ले 60%.
The economic
Extra
incentive
area.
is
There's
where
70%. So that
where
you can't
people.
say no. Yeah, it's like that movie. I give you an offer, you can't refuse. Is that
So cluster redevelopment
Cluster redevelopment
offers
Yes,
that.
the viability changes completely.
There's one
Because
project.
the dynamics of the project completely changes, right? And as we've discussed, community aspect once it comes
Yeah.
in, there's a certain demand for that.
Which will get-
There is one cluster I'm working on right now where it's a pre-launch stage where the developer hasn't even started, and that is 7,000 meter on Hill Road, where I'll be able to offer today at a pre stage at less than 50,000 rupees on carpet, and where the opening price is going to be 75,000 rupees on carpet. So those are the new things the cluster will bring in community living. So that's where it is entire Mount Mary bandstand. Rahija has picked up, K. Rahija has picked up building like Balmoral Hall. You name Cliff Tower by Rustam ji.
But I think even some new developers, right? Purvankaras of the world, Prestige.
It's a Ocean View.
So new.
That's amazing.
That's the largest plot right now, at least as far as we know, in the entire Bandra area.
Purvankaras.
Yeah.
Very nice. So a lot of upcoming, more than current projects. There's a lot of upcoming things that I think I can hear that there is more
I think
excitement
close
for
to
that.
150 projects on, or maybe more.
150 projects of
In the cluster
in
of
the
cars, Bandra.
It's a number that's changing daily.
daily, right? So 150 new projects through this redevelopment aspect and increasing on a daily basis.
So it's very interesting that what we saw in the last 3 years were typically society or building redevelopment, small and medium societies. But what may come in the future is a lot of cluster, which is what Sanjay is mentioning.
And I think that the incentivization is where it is
Yeah.
And
moving
that is
towards
where
that.
the oversupply thing may get started. Ab tak kya tha, like we were saying, building ban rahi hai, 20%, 30%, the existing people are buying, then there's not much to sell, that gets sold off
Good
easily.
point.
But once this cluster happens, once reclamation comes in, which will be
FSI,
fantastic.
more units,
then
more units to sell.
The inventory and the supply will get much higher, and that could lead to some sort of a price stagnation and a price. Right now,
Correction.
till now, it was not the case so much because it was very well balanced.
So cluster redevelopment can actually get a lot more supply given the FSI incentives. And that, I think, a good point, very good point that has come out. So Ajay, now coming to your projects, what are the projects that you like from, say, old and new, everything mix?
So amongst the old buildings, there are some buildings which stand tall and apart from rest of what has been constructed. I think one building which clearly stands apart is Sadhguru's Rendezvous. Very unique elevation, even more unique color or the flavor of the building. It definitely stands apart and looks very, very different. Yes, there are those who say, they are not able to digest or at least find appeal to that. But at least it stands apart and
Stands
different.
out.
I'm looking forward to what Rustomji will do for the bandstand project. In my view, that will be the single and the best project in this entire suburban area, because it's got characteristics of location, size of plot, and the views that nobody else can achieve. It's a greenfield project. It's got no society members, nobody coming back. They are doing, I heard, 5,500 and 10,000 square feet layouts. Lower floors may have little smaller ones, higher floors will have larger ones. In my view, that may be a project which will be the highest in terms of the value that it will command over the next few years.
Interesting.
So I look forward to that project. Besides that, I like the stuff which S. Rahija does. They put a lot of thought and effort and detail into their developments. They are not taking regular kind of projects. They take largish plots. They take corner plots. They're giving good floor to ceiling heights. Their attention to detail is better than many of the others. I like the stuff which Supreme does. Again, one of the oldest real estate developers of Bandra areas, and very strong brand value and very clean, neat, structures. No shusha, no extra jagmag, nothing like that. They've done a brilliant building at Pali Hill, which commands its own value. There's no availability, and a lot of people ask for it. So Supreme is definitely amongst the top 3-4. Then there is Om, which is also doing very, very good and very detailed in terms of their attention to layouts and everything. They sit with every customer. They ask them, how can I better my product, and that's what gets resulted into the end product. So they're doing a great job. And so these are 3-4 names there are many others also.
Understood.
Rustomji is again a new. They built Paramount. They saw success over there, and now they did Parishram, which has got ready. They're doing Panorama, which is half ready almost. Crescent is one of the largest developments in that area, and it's receiving very good pre-launch reviews from customers. A lot of demand coming in just because of the signage which has come on the location. So I think they will also change the face. Another project which I'm looking forward to is a commercial project by Rustomji, which is on the 33rd Road next to Supreme Headquarters. So they're doing a commercial office product, which is a blend of retail, restaurants and commercial offices, which is, again, that plot is amongst the largest in that area. It's about, I think, 3,300 odd square meters. So they will be able to design a product which would not have been possible by others because of sheer size that they're able to get over there. So that's another project which I'm looking forward to.
Good to hear all your picks.
There's one underrated project called 25 West by the Uptown team,
Yes.
which is people are not aware of, where currently the access is from the back at the inner road under the ceiling, but they have one more access next to Cliff Tower from Mount Mary, and they're going to make a ramp going into it. Initially, they had launched at 75,000 rupees a square foot, and people couldn't understand that access is from there. They sold their target, and now they're at 1,15,000, 1,20,000, and they have some amazing triples of around 25,000-30,000 square feet on top of penthouse on top, and they have got certain duplex on upper level. But that is still an underrated, which
Good.
I want to add to that. I think I missed that out. Yeah. So 25 West is one of the most unique projects in Bandra. The plot size is amongst the largest. It's a SRA project. They've got a garden on one side and they have a landscape of the entire sewage treatment plant which is coming. So you've got like garden greens on both sides. The most unique thing is the access. And we've in the last many years, when we started our careers, we used to say, building acha banega, interior acha hoga. Then we came to a phase where it's a gated complex. So everybody used to speak amenities. Then they started speaking gentry. Now, in my view, as we move forward, access and time to reach your home will become very important because traffic is becoming crazy.
Good
so
point.
This is one location where you get the best of Bandra because you're part of Bandra. You want to go and see Mount Mary, Cut Road, Bandstand, you can do that. And you want to move to the rest of the city, whether it's to the coastal road or to the airport or to the eastern side or even to Alibag for all you want to reach. It's got that kind of a dual access and it helps people save so much of time just to reach here because entire Mount Mary, if anybody's staying in Mount Mary, you take 20 minutes just to get inside from that Leelavati road. Whereas from here, you
can just go from the back road.
In 3 minutes, you're inside.
So good point.
So access is going to become very, very important, and projects or locations which can give you that dual access and connectivity will find far more, appeal by the target audience as such.
But clearly, from your picks, I figured that there is no budget project as such that you guys are interested in, or is. In terms of that, is there anything that you would like to highlight from a perspective which is more
if you
in your segment affordable for this market?
From an affordable perspective, if you want the best of Bandra but you can't afford the best of Bandra East, which is the MIG club area, is not too bad either.
Well put.
No, why Bandra East? They can even go to Bandra Reclamation. I was just going to say that.
3 projects have been launched right now. One is with Krithica, one is the Excelka, and one is Inspire by the I forget the Ajanta Pharma. All of them are around 50, 55, 60,000 rupees. You have a 2-bedroom all from 750 onward to a 3-bedroom of 1,000, 1,100, and your 4-bedroom of 15, 1,600. All the projects have amenities. In fact, the Inspira project has a ramp parking also. There's no car lifts in that. Around a lot of amenities. Even Guru Kripa is doing a fantastic job right now. They've launched, and so all these projects, they have views, they have the amenities, and you
Good.
have community living, and it's in the range. You can't get lower than 50.
And Guru Kripa is now, I think, quoting at 55,000
I think,
per square feet.
that's
Yeah.
what-
But their views are
Gonna be blocked.
Yeah, views
Yeah.
will get blocked
Views
eventually
will-
by the neighboring building.
So you can't
unless
get
you're on
everything.
front or
You
back.
can't get everything, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is common for a lot of
Yeah.
But
projects
in
in
fact,
Bombay.
all these three projects which I have spoke about, they have a garden and open amenity space
Yeah.
in the front. At least the front of them, they have these,
Medical.
So great to hear all the top project picks that each one of you highlighted. Hope it is beneficial for our viewers, from an inside perspective. Now moving on to our last section where we conclude, I would want each one of you to talk about how you think about the future, right? In the near term, medium term, how do you think this micro market will behave, and any parting buyer tips that can benefit buyers. Ajay, let's start with you.
So, Sandeep, Bandra has actually been one of the most stable markets over the last so many years. मार्केट ऊपर जाती है नीचे जाती है, बैंड्रा को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. बैंड्रा ही है, उसका सप्लाई डिमांड एक ब्यूटिफुली बैलेंस्ड सप्लाई डिमांड रहता है. दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव सीन ओवर द लास्ट 20 years. Having said that, yes, there are the macro factors which always affect to some extent, but that result in a deferment of decision rather than the actual decision itself is what we feel. So, in the current context, we are seeing stock market has been going down. Trump is, changing tariffs by the day, and that kind of puts a sense of uncertainty in the minds of a lot of people. So we are seeing a lot of decision deferment कि हाँ लेना तो है, अरे decision मतलब पसंद भी कर लिया लेकिन आज नहीं, मैं अगले महीने देखता हूँ. A lot of people have their savings in the stock market, and when they want to pull it out, if the value is depreciated or become less, they don't want to pull it out at that point of time.
Correct.
So this has led to more of a decision paralysis kind of a mood right now across most markets and to some extent in Bandra also. That's the short-term effect we see. Mid-term wise, there is a lot of developments or a lot of projects which got started over the last 2-3 years. These are now reaching at the the possession stage in the next few months, and there is more demand of properties which are closer to possession than those which are usually at the beginning of the start. So that demand will help us stay from a mid 12-month to a 24-month perspective in terms of sales that we need to see. Yes, many developers tend to sell out a bulk of their inventory at the beginning itself or during the construction stage, but they leave that residual part towards the fag end as such. So that will take care of the inventory which is there. There are a lot of buildings which are getting into redevelopment even now, and that is resulting into a lot of demand for the rental category. And we are seeing a lot of demand in the, I would not say small, medium to large size, I would say, because many existing buildings of Bandra are 2 and 3 bedrooms, and when they move out on rent, they prefer 3 and 4 bedrooms.
Interesting.
So there is a lot of rental demand which is there, and the supply is depleting currently. Rental demand which comes in, we are usually able to close transactions within a 15-day period. So आज phone किया 15 दिन में final. So it's moving very, very fast, and that's something which is one of the trends which we are seeing from a short-term to medium-term perspective. Long-term perspective, Bandra is seeing some amount of cluster developments which are coming up, a lot towards the Bandra Reclamation side, and there's a lot of inventory which will come in by many of the large developers who are wanting to reshape that entire area. So that inventory may end up leading the market to a bit of a price stagnation kind of a mode, because there will be a lot to sell, and every developer will want to achieve sales velocity, will want to continue selling. They will not be in a position to continue to keep increasing the rates in that part of the market, which may kind of spill over the market mood, sentiment and pricing to some of the other areas also.
Interesting point.
Because that pricing at an average of 50, 55, 60,000 will not allow the rest of the Bandra to move up to a 70, 75, 80,000 rupees, because many people may prefer to go there. It is Bandra at the end of the day. So long term, all these cluster developments which may end up coming may affect the demand supply situation.
Great to hear that concluding thoughts.
I think
Krithica, how do you see and any buyer tips as well, right? Given that you deal with a lot of buyers and tenants.
So short term, when I look at it, I don't see any major change that's going to happen in the Bandra markets. What it is, and it's going to be for the next 1 year also, or 2 years. There is a lot that's happening in the markets today. There is a lot of revamping of the entire location where so many projects are being done up, and there's so much redevelopment that's happening. So yes, as such, Bandra does not lose its charm ever, right? And what you see today is what you're going to get even tomorrow, right? So let's say if you are if as a customer, as a buyer wants to buy a property, let's say he wants to buy it in a Rustomji as a brand, or he wants to buy in an XYZ brand, the property is going to come to him in the same location of Bandra, right? And Bandra is going to be better 2 years down the line, right? Because all old buildings are going to be turning into new. The heritage of Bandra remains the same, the energy remains the same, and nothing changes that, right? So it's always, I can understand at this point of time, there's so much uncertainty around, there's so much happening all around, in varied economies, that maybe a customer takes that, no, let me wait. But if you're sure about your need to buy, then I don't see any hesitation why you should not go ahead to buy the product, right? Of course, I can understand there would be certain, like so many customers want to encash on their assets, the stocks, the gold, the silver that they have, or whatever, there would be their FDs or etc. So it is up to a customer, if he's serious about the location, the Bandra as a location, then any time is a good time.
Any time is a good time. Great.
Yeah.
Good point. Now, Sanjay, your concluding thoughts.
So, my company City Housing has been from 1992. And I want you to look at this perspective on a macro level. So let's go back to 1947, ever since India got our independence. Look at the graph of real estate from 1947 till today. Every 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, real estate approximately or averagely has doubled. All right. Bombay, we are sitting in the center of India as a financial capital. Everybody aspires to be in Mumbai. Forget Bandra as a whole. So Mumbai, you ask any developer from, look today, a lot of developers from South have entered Mumbai. Prestige, you name it, Purankara, all these guys have come from. Today, everybody, I talk to any outside, any retailer, his dream is to be on Mumbai. And in Mumbai, he wants to be on Linking Road. Understand, he'll pay 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 rupees per square foot rent just to have the presence over there. Now look at the population. Till a couple of years ago, I was told 120 crores and now it's 150 crores. People are popping children like popcorns. You understand? That is the story. Where is the space? We've just grown from 2 FSI to just 3.2 for FSI. Hardly anything, or just 4 FSI. And people and their children all over, everybody wants to be over here. So real estate is the best place to be in. I would say don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. You'll always be happy. That's my
Great point to end the discussion.
Yes.
Right? Sanjay put it very well.
Yes.
Very happy to host you guys for this wonderful discussion. Hope our viewers
Pleasure.
get a lot of insights from this. So please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments or any queries regarding even projects, please do comment and we will make sure that we or our panelists answer those questions for you. Thank you.